what is disrupting the cell, what is disrupting the
And we know
DNA,
it's fluoride and electrochemical.
RNA.
If you wanted to jack with salt water and electrochemical conductivity, you'd hit it with fluoride and electromagnetic radiation.
And you hit it with GMO particles, different types of bacterial organisms.
You know, my dad is an oral surgeon and dentist, and I mean, like 20 years ago, I was criticizing fluoride, and he heard it on the radio, and he came by the house, and he said, son, you'll die without fluoride. He goes, I got a degree in chemistry, too. And he goes, and I went and got articles and news, and about a year later, he saw some story a patient gave him out of Canada where there was a famous dentist that had gotten it approved there, and he believed it was calcium fluoride topical. When he found out it was hydrofluorosilicic acid and a bunch of other chemical waste dump, sometimes hundreds of chemicals from China, my dad goes, I got to apologize to you, son. That's crazy. And then another 10 years later, they came out, 6, 7 years ago, and the American Dental Association said children under 6 shouldn't brush with fluoride because it causes dental fluorosis and bone cancer. Now, people hear me say that, and they go, oh, that's just your opinion. Jones just said that. CNN came out and said massive brain damage in babies, massive brain damage in children. I mean, we don't just say this, okay? So again, though, my dad's a good guy. He didn't want to believe his industry was doing that.
I know.
But at least he later saw the facts and did. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, you know, children are so much more susceptible. So that's another reason we didn't talk about why are they trying to get to children? Why are they trying to get children?
And why are blacks with fluoride 5 times more? Like, it's a death sentence to whites, but with blacks, for whatever reason, have a different physiology. And folks, they call that racist. No, it's not. On average, a different physiology. Higher testosterone, you need it. Why are blacks, in fact, Google it, much more affected by fluoride, Dr. Group?
Well, kids also, their cells are producing and they're growing. And when they're in that growing stage, if you can get these chemicals into them, it's really going to alter their cell.
Mutagenic.
It's going to be mutagenic and they're going to be disformed in one way or another forever.
I know, but specifically get into that because we can go. I know you know all this stuff. You're a chemist. Why is fluoride and mercury, by the way, 3 to 5 times in the studies worse for blacks than Asians or whites?
I can't remember all those different studies as far as the blacks go for the as far as the fluoride and the mercury. I pretty much just say they're bad for everybody.
Well, of course they are.
I mean,
but I'm saying where's Black Lives Matter on fluoride for black people is like, I mean, you're talking deadly.
Right, and I'm sure that had to do with the eugenics because if you trace back, you know, a long time ago, they wanted to eliminate the handicap.
It's like Native Americans can't drink as much. It's a fact. It just, people are different in different ways.
It was classified in Germany as the original eugenics program, and it was designed to selectively choose the individuals that were wealthy, that were white, that were educated to have the babies and to eliminate everybody else that was a deterrent to society. And that way... And
we wonder why blood pressure, heart attacks in blacks is like way worse than other groups.
That's why the blacks, the handicapped, the mentally ill, anybody who had any problem...
Yeah, there it is, Centers for Disease Control, how it's way worse for blacks to have any fluoride. See right there?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, just it was like selective positioning and selective choice.
But I love black people. I love everybody. Like, I don't want Hispanics to be forcibly in Mexico given Gardasil when it says on the insert can sterilize you. But at the same time, I don't want the Hispanics brainwashed to hate me because I'm white. See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. We're all human. We're all brother and sister.
Exactly, but then I'm not going to be run over.
So the way that they, there's a lot of sinister things that they're doing behind the scenes and things that are just coming out right now. And
there it is, feds. Blacks suffer most from fluoride.
Oh, yeah, blacks and, with different vaccinations, with different chemicals, we all suffer differently just depending on our genetic code from how we were produced and what bloodline we originally came from a long time ago and how that's been manipulated over time and how we're grown up, what we're exposed to. Bruce Lipton, he's a PhD scientist from Stanford, basically said the environment in which we live determines our genetic pathway, and that the nucleus is not the brain of the cell, which our medical profession has taught us for years and years and years. It's the cell membrane that's the brain of the cell. Because you can actually take the nucleus out of the cell and the cell still functions. It still goes to the bathroom. It still respirates. It still functions, which is unbelievable. We would have, you know, that's where our genetic code is.
What about the mitochondrial? Because women have a second set of DNA men don't have. And then you could argue is actually like the full species.
Yeah,
and then men are manifest as the competitive angle for females for procreation.
So what I've determined is that everything that we're taught in science about the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, which produces energy, what we're not taught is what surrounds the mitochondria and what surrounds the cell. And that is the big diversion in the medical secret that they never want you to find out. Okay, what is the body? The body is nothing more than 90% water. Okay, if you focus all your effort on...
Isn't it a colony organism? Isn't the body really a colony organism?
The body is one colony organism of 100 trillion cells all functioning and working together.
And then it's got an electromagnetic radar that can read magnetic lines of the earth, just like ducks and fish. Ours is, I've seen the studies, like hundreds of times more powerful than a geese's system. We've got like total radio transmitter. Our brain's like this huge pickup system, huge radio receiver.
So when we were studying the root cause of disease, Alex, we weren't looking at standard physiological cell membrane activity and what happens here with the gates and the channels, which the cell membrane is literally a semiconductor. What we were looking at was what are the components outside of the cell and what are the components inside of the cell? And since it was water, basically salt water, we started saying, what is disrupting the cell? What is disrupting the
And we
DNA?
know it's fluoride and electrochemical. If you wanted to jack with salt water and electrochemical conductivity, you'd hit it with fluoride and electromagnetic radiation.
And you hit it with GMO particles, different types of bacterial organisms. Royal Rife, back in the 1920s and 30s, who had that light microscope, was able to identify organisms.
No, I agree. So, and then of course they classified it all. So let me ask you this question: What is the end game? Because I don't get into aliens and stuff because I can't prove it. The globalists act like they're an outside alien force here, poisoning us, and killing the Earth as a reproductive mother. They claim they love the mother. They're the ones GMOing, killing, annihilating the whole deal. The liberals all say more nuclear reactors, it's good for the Earth. They're like a sick death cult. Who are they? What is their end game?
That's $1 million question. I mean, I haven't really been focusing on their end game. What I've been focusing on...
Yeah, but who are they? What's their ideology?
Because the elite class of individuals that...
They're elite, they're elite a-holes?
Started the Federal Reserve, started the, you know, worked with the pharmaceutical...
Yeah, but who goes, here, let's increase the fluoride in the black districts of town with the different valves they've got, because it already hurts them worse, so let's really hurt them, and then you put the black people down because you're putting brainwashing and chemical warfare in their water. It's super uncool. Then they brainwash the black folks to hate me like I'm their enemy. Like, how do you even deal with that? Like, they go train them with George Soros to hate me so they know I'll go after them while they're killing them.
Well, that's...
I mean, how do you even respond to something like that?
Well, it goes really, really deep, and you've covered it many times with the connections dating back.
And the argument is, Alex, you're not that smart. So you can grasp what the elite have done, but you can't figure it out. Why don't you just back off and let them run things and your family will be spared?
I mean, just do the research into the Club of Rome, the bloodlines of the Illuminati.
Well, how smart are these people, though? Because let me tell you something. I've been doing a lot of stuff. I can finally figure out what they're doing, and they're totally pissed at us. Who the hell has this knowledge and decides to go ahead with it? Because if you have the knowledge, you know how evil it is.
Well, they're seeing that the people are becoming, even though they're dumbing down everybody, they're also seeing that there's a select group of resistance that are getting the truth out. And
that's like insects. If you sit there by the third generation and poison them, the stronger the poison, the more the bugs come back stronger. So they know there's going to be a group that's immune to this.
There's a certain group of good, you know. I mean, there's a lot of good people that are praying, too, every single day and that are meditating for good things to happen. So it's not 90% evil and 10% good. Right now,
No, I'm not trying to... I agree that we're turning the tide, but let's admit how bad the enemy is, because so many folks are in denial. If they know how bad it is, then they'll really take action. Because I used to get told by globalists, Alex, you're just depressing people. They're a bunch of losers. Thank you for scaring folks for us. That's why we leave you alone. But the truth is, I knew folks weren't cowards. I knew they'd respond, and so we're winning. So I don't say all this to be negative. I say it so people know the stakes, Doc.
I know, and just like doctors telling people they have cancer. I mean, they're putting fear into them right away there. They're telling them the next.
They've got these new blood tests where they know that it isn't really cancer, but then they get you in treatment.
But you have to know in order to come up with a solution.
They cut my grandmother's lung out, and she didn't even have cancer.
You have to know the damaging effects of fluoride so you can come up with a solution to it. You have to know how and why you get disease so you can.
Well, let's do a plug.
To it.
Let's talk about X2, exclusively the cleanest iodine, deep source crystal. InfoWarsLife.com helps fund the operation. I'm extending 50% off on all the super high quality My Patriot supply. We don't raise the price and lower it. That's 50% off retail. It's almost a loss leader at that price. Promo code READY. Because of the Mexican earthquake and all the big earthquakes hitting Japan, I just want folks to get prepared. So Amazon doubles prices during crisis, during a new hurricane coming into the Gulf, devastating Dominican Republic. We are cutting prices during this. I'm going to keep this going for a few more days. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com. Promo code READY for 50% off. A lot of other big specials are about to end. Just check them all out, InfoWarsStore.com. But specifically, and I'm going to be honest, I worked out really, really hard for about 4 or 5 years, lost about 30 pounds. But I'd gotten up to 280. I got down to about 250. And then I worked out really hard, got down to about 220. But it helped me with X2, Supermel. And I got kind of lazy. I don't even really work out now. Maybe elliptical a couple days a week, watching TV or something. I've really gotten bad because I want to work in the morning. I can't get away from work or time with my kids. So I'm getting a little bit of weight back. But, I mean, that's with almost no working out with the X2, with the Supermel, with Caveman and things. I mean, I was not losing the weight until I went on X2 4 years ago when you first developed it. Why did it do that to me?
Well, because once you start freeing up your endocrine system again and things start working, people don't know that iodine is a necessary element for every cell in the body. It's not just for your thyroid. And they know that. I mean, the Russian scientists and the German scientists knew that as well. So not only are you knocking out the receptors, also the iodine receptors in the body, you're talking about the reproductive tract especially, and all of the areas in the body when you look. Oh yeah,
the studies on fertility, IQ. I mean, this is why is iodine so critical?
Well, iodine is critical, number one, because it gets rid of, I wouldn't say that unless we have an overburden of bromine and chlorine and fluoride in our society. The only thing that's going to bond to that and get that out of the receptor sites, because the cells in your body, they don't know. The molecules of iodine, fluoride, chlorine, and bromine look so alike that the cell can't differentiate it. So it actually will take it in as bromine or take it in as chlorine or take it in as fluoride. How do you get that out? The only way you can do that is saturate with iodine so the cell actually starts taking the iodine back in and pushing the chlorine and the bromine and the fluoride out. It's another big secret that the government doesn't want you to know about how effective iodine is, because what else? I don't know of anything else out there that's going to eliminate those three toxic halogens from the body that we're exposed to.
And let's expand on that. Some people say everything we do is according to whatever the FDA wants, but we do have this pretty strong for the dose in the bottle, and you believe it is safe. But if people are already toxic, if their thyroid's already in trouble from all the bad halogens, they should consult a physician first, because it's not a game. I mean, this is a main driver in the body for hormones. It's a precursor of everything. If you don't have iodine, you've got a problem.
And they knew that. I mean, all the studies that were done on iodine through Michigan and with the goiters of not having enough iodine, and then they decided to put iodine in salt as iodized salt, and they ended up taking that back out again.
And just that crappy form boosted IQ 15 points.
Well, yes, and the pharmaceutical company.
I mean, that's the headline. The feds admit 15-point increase when they gave kids just a paltry. But explain the different iodines, because when they tested ours, they went, it wasn't sodium and it wasn't this type. It was actually pure iodine, which is weird. No, because no one else has it. Exactly. You want the pure iodine. Explain.
No one knows how to stabilize pure iodine. That's the thing.
But what was weird is they said it was like a weird thing. They go, our top lab tested and it wasn't sodium and it wasn't this and it wasn't that. It was actually just iodine, which no one ever had. Explain it to them.
Right, because iodine will evaporate extremely fast, and that's why it smokes. And you have the videos of it smoking. If you put it in the air, it disassociates and it goes up.
It looks like I Dream a Genie. It just comes out purple.
Right, so it's very hard to stabilize iodine. We worked years and years to stabilize it into action. You know,
and it is a Russian patent, so we're Russian agents.
We use a process called glyphospheric, which is glycerin wrapped around the molecule. It's a proprietary process. So you could have the iodine and it won't, using the glycerides, using this process, it actually wraps around the iodine and keeps it from dispersing into the air. And we use the 99.99% pure.
By the way, I wasn't joking. It is a Russian process, right?
Not all of it is a Russian process.
Not, but part of it was.
Not all of it is a Russian process. We did actually contact a consultant who was one of the top PhD scientists. He's living in the United States, but he is Russian, and
so we're bad.
Some of the technology.
So we're bad.
We used.
Because the Russians involved?
He's one of the leading scientists in the world, actually, when it comes to ultrasonic pulsations and stuff like that. So, yeah,
and that's how they put the gaseous form of the iodine into the.
What they do is they use potassium or sodium to bond to it. You have to protect it from dispersing. So they use potassium iodide is with a potassium molecule which is attached to the iodide, so it stays stable for long periods of time. And I can tell you this, that they didn't use the right type of testing methodology for that either, because we've had to actually work with laboratories to develop certain types of exclusive testing technology to be able to test for that, because their testing technology only tests to see if there's something attached to the iodine molecule, which would be a potassium iodide. And that's why they said, oh, we don't know what this is. It's just iodine. Yes, it's pure detoxified iodine, which is bonded and wrapped in a glycerin matrix. And that's why it's so effective as an I1 form, or a monatomic form of iodine that's going to go directly into your system, just like the Secret 12 is, where we have the bioavailable form.
By the way, I got to skip this break so we have more time, because this is so important. Look at how this works. I mean, it's so amazing, where they're out there demonizing and attacking us, and they didn't even know that I was private labeling a lot of the stuff's original products for us, but your vegan safe Secret 12 methylcobalamin, medical grade level, pure, top rated, the very big firm they used listed it as the best vitamin B12 out there for $35, and then looked at ours for $17.76 and said it is pure vitamin B12, but it's a ripoff at this price, even though they were selling it for like $15 more than we were, and it was yours marked up. I mean, how could they even train wreck like that?
Well, again, they didn't even test for the adenosyl cobalamin.
But they said, we've done all this test. Here's the best one, which was yours, which we were private labeling.
Right. And to this day, I still don't know how they're getting that, because I launched an investigation into it. So I have no idea. There must be some individual somewhere that's purchasing it from our site, but we do not have any ties to them. We've tried to track it down. We can't figure out how.
So you don't know how this big law firm owned testing place is selling your vitamin B12 that we private label as Secret 12. They say yours is the best. They didn't understand we were private labeling it. What idiots.
And then they just tested for the methylcobalamin in there, and they don't realize that the adenosyl cobalamin, the B12 in your body, breaks down into two cofactors, methylcobalamin and adenosyl cobalamin. Adenosyl cobalamin is extremely expensive, like extremely. And
that's 20% of it.
Making barely any profit on what you're selling that product for, which you don't make a lot of profit.
Yeah, folks don't know that.
It's all done to support the mission, and our main priority.
Well, we believe if we do this, God's going to reward us.
And that's it. I mean, and that is the truth. It's karma. I mean, the more good that you do, the more good that you're going to receive. And that's why the results speak for themselves. And that's why I don't want to put out some sort of a chemical bad product.
But again, our enemies took my vitamin B12, tested it, and said, yes, it's pure, California standard, almost impossible to do. And then they went, oh, but he overcharges. And then they're literally selling the stuff I private label from you for $15 more.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? How could that happen?
I have no idea how that can happen. I mean, but again, they just Look at what's happened.
No weapon formed against us.
They lie, and they come out and they try to discredit, and they come out and they try to find something that you're doing so they can, and then it just backfires right in their face.
Well, it's like Trump and the spying. They were in the news saying they were spying. Obama said, I've got the intelligence. He did it. I've given it to the news. He'll never get away with it. And then Trump goes, you know, it's illegal to do that. Plus, your intelligence is fake. And they went, we never did that. We never did that. We never did that. It's not thinking Trump would come after him. And then now it all comes out. How are they going to respond to that? All the shows, every show saying he's an idiot. He's a liar. Nobody spied on Manafort. Nobody spied on Trump. And everything Trump said, because once he got in, he's the president. He goes, give me a report on what happened. They go, sir, here's the report. He's got everything they did. And he goes, you guys are in a lot of trouble. And they go, no, we're not. And he says, because he's not going to release it because it's secret. And then notice Conway says, oh, he's the president. He's got the documentation. How did that blow up in their face?
Well, when you're not sure of the facts and you try to manipulate the public and you come up with a bunch of bogus stories about things, eventually we're smart enough now that does not work anymore. We've seen exactly that strategy not work.
Exactly. Don't they get the public is addicted to digging into everything everybody says?
No.
They dig into everything I say, our listeners, and find out it's true, and they just love us more, because it's just religious for us to tell the truth and just be totally honest. And so as it's like our mass is gaining as we tell the truth, they're waning as they lie. And so they triple down on bigger lies. It's not working.
And the strange thing is, though, I mean, I was in the gym the other day at the hotel that I'm staying at. And
Houston flooded.
And this guy cranks CNN in the gym, and he's sitting there with his weights, working out, and he's watching CNN, and they're talking about all these lies, and he's just sitting there, you know, shaking his head. Yes, I had to literally, like, get out of the gym. There are people that are too far gone. There's a you know, I wish everybody would wake up. I mean, I really do. And I think that that's happening. People are learning about.
But I agree. I don't hate these people. I've gotten where I can't be around them. It's like they want us separate from them. Hey, don't worry. We want to be separate from you. You know, especially these white, trendy liberals that are like mentally retarded. I cannot handle them.
You know, that's where I just I just meditate and I just wish the best for the whole world right now. I mean, and hope that people. It is working, though. I mean, you see all of your information that they've tried to discredit, all the products they've tried to discredit. We've proven people have come to our support. People are out there spreading this information. People are telling the truth. The truth will set us free, and the truth is always the truth. I mean, when you continue to lie after lie after lie after lie, it might take. This is exactly what we're talking about with the psychiatry industry. This is how they produce things. They create a disease. They come up with a wonder drug. They lie about it. Lie that it's going to work for years and years. And then it takes years, 10 years for all these side effects to come into place. And then, oh, okay, now.
And by the time they remove it, they got 50 more poisonous things out.
They remove it, and they put the next wonder drug into the thing. But now times have changed. I mean, I believe that. I saw how people came together after Houston. I have a whole...
How did that blow up in their face, trying to cause a race war?
Because people realized what they were doing, and they realized that I'm your neighbor. You're my neighbor. I can help.
We're all in this together.
We're in it together, and we need to...
That's why I want everybody to be prosperous. As I've run into a lot of rich people, though, not the majority, but there's a minority of them, and they're mainly white people, who just get off on other folks being poor. And that's sick, and that's how the globalists are.
When you help the poor, it actually helps you. I mean, I go release animals. Like, I'll go to we have a lot of Vietnamese and Chinese grocery stores around Houston, and they love to eat turtles and frogs and all that in their living. I'll go, my wife usually goes every day or at least 2 or 3 times a week, and we buy those animals that are about to be killed and bought, and we'll go release them. It doesn't matter if you're doing good for animals or if you're doing good for people. It doesn't matter what your color is. It doesn't matter what your race is. I'll even do good for people that are, you know, love CNN, because what does that do? It makes things better for you, and it puts you in a position to where you're getting more of that good karma. And it works. I'm going to tell you, it definitely works. And just by meditating and by doing good.
And I overall agree with that. But what about folks that just think they magically say everything's positive? They don't fight corruption. They just say it's positive, and then they think that's going to make their life great. I find that's the worst scenario. You've got to fight the corruption, but also be positive at the same time.
No, I mean, I definitely agree with that, and getting the information and teaching people and helping people. You can help people in many, many different ways. I mean, you can just sit there and listen to somebody. They've done studies, because the average time a physician visit is 7 minutes. They've done studies where the physician just says, I'm not even going to try to diagnose, but I'm just going to listen to what this patient has to say for 20 minutes. And they just let that person talk, and there's already a healing response, already white blood cells being produced, because the individual is just able to voice their concern and listen. And just by listening to people, asking questions, already does people good.
That's right.
Smiling.
We're going to come back. We're going to come back. We've got, who's doing the 4th hour today? We've got Roger Stone coming up. He's, got to testify Monday in Congress and secret committee. But I wanted to play this video. BLM and Trump supporters shatter divided America narrative. Kellen McBreen wrote the story. I want to cover this with you when we come back and introduce Roger Stone as well. Hour number 4. We're only here because of you. You are the power. You are the guiding light that God's shining through. Thank you all for your support. Spread the links, Infowars.com/show, or the Facebook, Twitter, YouTube links right now, or local radio stations, because you taking action cannot be stopped. Hour number 4, straight ahead. Stay with us.
Survival Shield X2 Nascent Iodine. If you're interested in healthy thyroid, if you're interested in well-being, if you're interested in having a higher IQ, which this has been linked to, get your powerful Survival Shield X2 at InfoWarsStore.com.